Hello, my Web3 fellow citizens, law advocates, and legal professionals. I am delighted to welcome you to the third online meetup in the Web3 and law community. Our first meetup conducted in English. We are firm believers that the industry can only be built from the bottom up, from the community, and I'm thrilled that you are all part of this community. So thank you for joining us today. I am Eugene KPMC, and I'm honored to be your host for the next 2 hours. Please consider that this meetup is being recorded, then it will be edited, published on YouTube, and distributed. We expect that at least 150 people from the relevant audience will have watched this meetup in the upcoming weeks. First, I want to extend my sincere thanks to our distinguished Web3 legal professionals, Ghana Voivodina, Sergey Ostrovskiy, and Harry Lars Ghillemyn, for graciously agreeing to share their insights today, which are extremely valuable for us. I'm proud to announce that this professional event at the intersection of Web3 and law is made possible by MyShCh, a proof-of-event service for Web3 event organizers. MyShCh not only serves as an event management system that allows the creation of smart NFT tickets, but also as a complete on-chain reputation management system based on soul-bound tokens. We've been strong advocates of the on-chain reputation concept in Web3, which is tremendously crucial in this trustless environment. With 25 online events already organized with MyShCh and 585 soul-bound certificates already issued to their participants, the benefits of on-chain reputation are becoming increasingly evident. During the event, a link to a form will be sent in this chat in Telegram to fill in your EVM address in the Arbitrum network to receive your soul-bound certificate with a gift inside, a 15 discount promo code for server proxies for all sites from our friends proxy store. They are also partners of Monero community. The promo codes will be valid until June 11th and can be used by both existing and new users, but only once. If you have any questions for the speakers, please don't hesitate to write them in this Telegram chat with using hashtag question, and please mention the speaker's name. It will allow us to find it and to ask the speaker and to get answer quickly as soon as possible. Dear speakers, I hope you are already in this chat. Let me look inside. Yes, I do. Do I see? Where's Ghana? No, I don't see. I have it nonetheless. Okay. Yes, because you know your time slots. Each of you will have 30 minutes for the speech and the Q&A. I would really appreciate if you avoid finishing very early, not in 3 or 5 or 10 minutes. Just share your thoughts in detail. Don't hesitate to do it. Let's leave up to 10 minutes in the end of your slot for questions. I will be announcing you and controlling the timing. I hope that's all for intro. Oh, okay, the first speaker is already here. So let me announce the first speaker. She's Ghana Voivodina. We've been closely familiar with her for 3 years already, so I'm very happy to meet you here again. Ghana has been a licensed attorney in Ukraine since 2012. She's a lawyer with 16 years of legal experience and background. Ghana has 2 diplomas with honors, Master of Law and Bachelor of Linguistics. In 2022, Ghana started writing a PhD thesis to obtain the Doctor of Philosophy degree in the field of international law studies. Ghana is also an author of Ukrainian law about virtual assets. She's senior legal officer of Exmo Cryptocurrency Exchange and head of legal department of the international career portal Headhunter. For almost 5 years, she has been working also as Chief Legal Officer of a KUNA cryptocurrency exchange. She is a founder of Manimama Exchange and I Support Ukraine initiative. So, Gana, you are online with us. Thank you for joining us. What topic are you going to speak to us today? You may join our conversation.
Hello. Hello. I'm trying.
Yes, we do.
Yes,
we do hear you.
Thanks a lot for such presentation. I'm shocked. How cool am I? Hello, dear colleagues, dear friends. Today I was invited to speak about something interesting. If you don't mind, I will try to tell you about tokenization. Yeah. Our firm is really a big expert in this method of fractionalizing ownership. Yes, and I want to tell about our experience in tokenization of real property. Yes, so what I want to talk about, I want to talk about using DAO in tokenization of real estate, about using other legal instruments like crowdfunding and special purpose vehicle. So what I am talking about now is the following. We know that, of course, investment in a traditional way is quite hard. Yes, investors have a lot of problems with, the first problem is liquidity. Yes, meaning that a person is, it is hard to find enough money to invest in something big and expensive. In this situation, we have problems not only with financing, but also with IML, with KYC procedures when the investor cannot go through all these procedures. In this situation, of course, tokenization helps. What is tokenization as well? Tokenization is the process of converting your participation in investment in real estate to digital tokens, yes, and which are issued on blockchain. In this situation, we have different methods of tokenization, which I'm going to tell you about. Yeah. So also except the problem of investing is not only about finance. It is also about diversification, because when you invest in something and you don't have enough money to go further, when you invest in something and the price falls or rises, you have problems with selling if it falls, and the problem with buying if it rises. And investors have problems with managing, yes, because buying real estate, selling real estate is quite a hard procedure. You need to find contracts, you need to find a good area where to buy, you need to enter to the agreement, you need to pay taxes, you need to pay to notary certifications, and so on and on. Of course, it is very hard to get rid of property when you bought it, yes. This is also a challenging process which takes your time, takes your efforts, and sometimes it can be quite nervous. So in this situation, tokenization today is very popular. And in our experience, we have a lot of different cases which I want to tell about. So I would divide my speech to so-called model, yes, like American model, Dubai model, yes, Panamanian model, and Canadian model. Our first case was about creating a DAO. What is DAO today? Yes, I understand my colleagues will talk about DAO more and will be more concrete in legal framework, but I will explain on the basic level. So what we did, we had a case with tokenization platform where any person can come to the platform and buy something using tokens. We created the company just in Wyoming. Wyoming is a state today which has a clear and transparent DAO legislation. Also we have the same in Marshall Islands. This is innovation, yes, on the legal market, and this is real DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. How it is done? It is done very clear. When in this platform, for instance, we can give opportunity for buyers and sellers to meet each other. When a property is chosen by the oracles of the platform, because for investors like buyers, it is quite difficult, to find good property, to check all the documents, to waste the time. And in this situation, tokenization platforms, they do this work on them on their side. So they choose some real estate, they make legal audit, they make all check-ins, they understand that the property is in a good situation, it looks okay, everything is good with constructions, with documents, what they are doing. We are creating a separate decentralized autonomous organization. This company is created to buy this concrete real estate. According to Wyoming legislation and according to DAO Bill of Wyoming, it is possible to create DAO which is managed by smart contract. Yes, smart contract issues tokens in the amount which are equivalent in the price to the real estate. Let's imagine real estate costs like $1 million. Yeah, it can be villa on Bali, the hotel in some country like in Thailand, in Montenegro, something not very regulated for today. What we are doing? The seller is coming with its real estate. It can be, by the way, the real estate on the secondary market and on the first market. Yes, initial market. It is possible. The company is created. So we are creating a decentralized autonomous organization in Wyoming or in Marshall Islands. The shared capital of the company is divided into tokens, and it costs like 1 million. We distribute the tokens. People are coming to the platform. People are going through KYC procedure. They are buying tokens. It depends on the amount they are ready to invest. It can be $10,000. It can be $100. Yeah, and they buy tokens, and these tokens they are the part of the shared capital. When the raising of funds is over, we have enough money for the American company to buy real estate. Depending on the jurisdiction, the company needs to go through some KYC procedure and through some legal procedures. For instance, if we are talking about Indonesia or Thailand or any other market, the company can get some specific number to get real estate. So the company takes funds from selling tokens. The company can convert these funds in fiat money because it has banking account, let's say, in any electronic money institution or the bank, and buys this real estate. What is coming next? In this situation, the company can, for example, hire management company, another legal entity, which is going to receive rental payments from the tenants. When the funds are allocated, because the tenants paid for the rent, decentralized autonomous organization in USA, in Marshall Islands, can distribute the income to the token holders. In this situation, it is very easy to use some offshore jurisdiction because we don't have taxes. We don't have taxes on the level of the company itself. And the token holder just receive dividends and they get profit. What is good in here is that we can sell these tokens freely on the platform and we can get rid of our investment when we are ready, because we want to sell it just because we want to get back our money, or the price of the token got higher and we want just to sell it, yes, and to get income from the selling of token. What is good here? Nevertheless, we are in USA, yes, when we are a little bit nervous, yes, because we understand that this is American jurisdiction. We understand we have Security Commission there, but first of all, in this situation, the company can avoid American residents, and then principally it avoids a lot of risks. Also, we can use SEC exemption as when we don't need to register prospectus of emission because we don't work with American residents. Also, there is a specific guidance in American legislation according to which if you have not more than 100 investors and they manage the companies themselves without management company. Yes, we understand that the management company operates the business, yes, but principally the DAO members, they vote for every important decision, and in this situation we avoid the risk of so-called real passive income when we are not engaged in business. Yeah, in this situation it is like investment club where people enter to buy something, to sell something, and to do what they want. What another case I can explain to you? Another case we had in our experience was using Panamic Foundation. Also, we have the platform which is very popular, and they built their business in another way. This was the company created Panama Fund. This Panama Fund is becoming the owner of the property. Every time when a new real estate is entering the platform, we are creating a new Panama company which tokenizes its shares. This is DAO. Token holders, investors are coming, buying tokens, and these funds are transferred according to investment agreement to Panama Foundation, which is the basic legal entity operating all the owning and operating all the real estates which are listed. This is also a very good opportunity to use offshore jurisdiction when you need to tokenize something. But let me come back to more regulated market. Yes, even here it is possible today. What example I can tell about is Dubai. Yes, I understand that a lot of people will think that Dubai is quite complex market. Yes, it's so. But principally, it is also possible. Today, we have such free zone, which is called Dubai Financial International Center. It is called FIC. This free zone, in reality, has such a type of license, which is called crowdfunding property license. You can come to Dubai Financial Security Authority. You can get the license of crowdfunding property platform and create the platform which will also tokenize Dubai property. And this is not a dream. This is not a fair. Yes, today we have really such example existing on the market. It is called GetStake. So in this situation, a crowdfunding platform was created, and every time when a specific real estate is bought, is prepared, yes, for buying and selling, a special purpose vehicle is created, which is managed by this fund. Why it is good? Because according to Dubai regulations, if we are talking about investors, it is impossible and it is forbidden for more than 4 people to invest in one real estate. In this situation, when we use special purpose vehicle, we have only one owner, yes, which is owned by a lot of investors. How such platform works? This platform is investing in big projects for creating special purpose vehicle for the concrete period. According to regulation of this free zone, it is possible to enter to the investment agreement for the period of not more than 5 years, with the possibility of extending it to 6 months. So the special purpose vehicle is created and is buying the property. The company the investors are just waiting. When they in 5 years they can sell the property, because we know that prices in Dubai, they always rise. Yeah, they always the property is increasing in the price, and this is quite a good opportunity to put your funds in different special purpose vehicles using that platform. What else we have? So I was talking about DAO. This is transparent and clear idea of how the property can be tokenized. In reality, we are creating a specific entity which owns the property. By the way, what I can tell, this case is also possible to be realized even in Europe, because I had personally negotiations with BaFin. BaFin is a very strict and mean regulating authority of Germany, and explained this model to them. They said, okay, American company can principally go through this procedure and even offer this investment to German residents. But in this situation, you will need to create a very good contract, public offer, which will be completely relevant and compliant with German legislation. You will create white paper, including all main aspects of the agreement. You will come to BaFin, you will show this agreement, and BaFin can give you the right for such investment attraction, meaning that decentralized autonomous organizations created in other countries are ready to go through prospectus in Europe, if, of course, the full model will be authorized by local regulating authority. Also, it is possible, to my mind, to create other different models. I'm looking at the time, yes. Another model which is possible is to create the crowdfunding platform in Europe or another very regulated jurisdiction. We know that in October 2022, this is a challenging directive came into force. In Europe, it is called crowdfunding directive. This means that crowdfunding process, they are over-regulated in the European Union. According to this directive, if you want to conduct crowdfunding platform, you will need to receive a credit institution authorization in one of the member states, or you can obtain another relevant specific license if it exists. In Estonia, we have such license. It is called operating as a financial institution. In Lithuania, we have such license. And also, we can create a very simple company in Canada, MSB, yes, provider, which has opportunity to provide crowdfunding activities. What is crowdfunding? According to European regulation, according to Canadian regulation. This is a intermediation between the investors and so-called recipients. Recipients are our companies who, let's say, are searching for investment in developing. In this situation, crowdfunding can be good solution for the development projects in Europe or in other jurisdictions which are seeking for investment. Yes, they need money to develop a new project. It can be private estate, it can be commercial project. In this situation, this company can come to crowdfunding platform go through due diligence procedure of crowdfunding and try to attract funds from investors. I am the investor. I am the resident of the European Union. I am coming to the platform. I'm going through KYC. I'm investing my USDT in the minimal amount which is possible, $1,000, and I'm investing to the projects. Crowdfunding is possible now. Our company is trying to find, all the time we are trying to find new opportunities for, let's say, expanding our experience in different jurisdictions. We know, we research also American law when we are talking about bonds, yes? When we are talking about big projects, the projects which are creating which are creating real property projects, big projects in USA, and they are searching for investment. In this situation, you can look at the market and find such over-regulated projects like Goldfinch. Goldfinch is the project which has the introducing brokerage license in USA, and it has a right to get the bonds of the company and sell it on its platforms to the market, to the investors. Investors can be of two types, well-informed and ordinary. We understand that retail investors are limited in the right of investment because security commissions of every state, they defend them. So in this situation, it will be quite difficult to conduct such platform, but anyway, it is possible with brokerage license. Also, we reviewed such models again in Europe. In Germany, I like this jurisdiction because we have a lot of investors there. Yes, not a lot of people know that Germany was the first country where the stock exchange was created. Yes, it was, if I'm not mistaken, 17th century. So in this situation, this market is regulated. The regulating authority, which is BaFin, understands everything, but they have a lot of different options to receive investment, including creating different brokers which are already exist on market, and they can stand as the administrating agency on the platform. By the way, I want to say that we used all our experience in tokenization, not only of real estate, because now it is a quite popular method of investing in something is to buy tokens. And a lot of projects, they exist with without good legal structure. People just are coming, buying something, they don't understand what they are buying. The majority of projects, they just create some utility tokens to get funds, and then sometime you will get some utility function. This is not sometimes good, yes, because old money and serious money, they want to understand what they are doing. In this situation, they can invest in tokenized real world asset, not only real estate. We have a very good experience also in tokenizing diamonds. Yes, we made review of a lot of models which are existing today on the market. In America, we have such project which is called Diamond Standard. Diamond Standard is a company which has license in Bermuda. Bermuda has a license for tokenization, and they give opportunity for a person to come to the platform to buy diamond and not to take it away, not to pick up the diamond, but to store it and tokenize using Bermudian company. In this situation, a person has a diamond which costs like, I don't know, 20,000 euros. And it is possible to store this diamond in authorized storage, to tokenize the diamond, and then a lot of investors can come, buy tokens, and sell them at the moment when the price is good. In this situation, again, we have some rating agency which supports the platform, showing the index the index of the price of the diamond. We have a lot of projects like this in Europe. They are mainly based in Belgium, by the way, of course, because we have a very famous, yes, placement of in Antwerpen of diamond shops. There are some projects in Switzerland, in Netherlands. So honestly, I reviewed all of them. I know how to tokenize it using Liechtenstein license because we have regulation in Liechtenstein, Switzerland legislation, American legislation, Marshall Island, Dubai, and we are not going to stop. Yes. So in this situation, I understand that tokenization of real world asset is very good opportunity for investors to buy something what they want to invest, to diversify their portfolio, yes, for the projects to raise funds, and for the lawyers and for the platforms who are ready to create this business model to get commission out of this ecosystem. Principally, I am done with my speech. I am in time and ready to answer questions if you have them.
Absolutely, Anna. Thank you very much for this detailed explanation. You are the first person in my life who have completely explained to me how this exotic conjunction of the Web3 world, where everything is permissionless and easy, is being intersected with this so hard understandable world of government regulation, where real property assets are living, and how to intersect them. It's extremely hard. I am very proud to have such a person in my contact list that you done all this job. Well, dear participant, dear attendees, we have just 8 minutes for questions. If you just have one question for Anna Voivodina about tokenization of real assets, about using SPVs or DAO in Wyoming or in Panama funds and so on and so forth, please just write your question and chat using hashtag question, or you may even let us know. I don't know if it's possible. You will just let me know if it's possible to raise a hand and ask a question, maybe by voice. I don't know if it's possible there, but nonetheless. So while our listeners and viewers are asking questions, let me ask you a sort of philosophical question. If it is so hard to buy real world assets like private property in these legal jurisdictions in developed countries, I would say, why do we need at all to be engaged in so hard quest of tokenizing? These are two, let's say, silent words. These are completely silent. Word of real assets exists in frameworks of legal, traditional, let's say, legal frameworks. Web3 world exists in very easy permissionless framework where tokens are living. Why do we need it all? Is there, don't we have any, I'm trying to ask, is this, I wish token holders.
Why do we need this? Yeah.
Why do we need such a sophisticated construction of as tokenizing? Of course, from legal person, you need service. I don't understand. All legal professionals need service. This is the first point. Why? But from the real needs of the token buyers, do they really need to tokenize these private property?
Let me explain. My way to this process began from a real business request of one of our clients. He's proud of his project, and he always tells me to tell everybody about him. This is a platform Binaries, which is created by Ukrainians, as always, very clever and smart team. Why they did it? I will explain. They came to Bali, they lived in Bali, and they watched all that picture, all that beauty, and they understood that the real market, real estate market is quite hot, yes? And at the same time, there was such requests. From the one hand, we had owners of the villas. Villa cost $500,000, and it is quite hard to sell this villa. The seller is coming to the real estate agencies in Indonesia. They just enter in agreement with him and they say, okay, my good friend, wait for us, we will someday sell your villa. And the person is waiting, yes, and he needs capital. This is the first problem for the seller, because it is very hard to sell something what is very expensive. You don't have time, you need money, you need to choose the moment, and this is a very big problem. This is one necessity, yes, of the market. And from the other hand, we have guys who are investors. Let's say I have $10,000. I have them in USDT. I don't understand anything about trading market. I am nervous, let's say, to invest them in Bitcoin, or I have Bitcoin, I want to diversify. I have the opportunity to put $10,000 with other owners. This process is called fractionalizing, yes? We are creating, you remember the movie in our childhood, Garage, yes? When people are coming, creating some enterprise to do something together. In this situation, me, Evgen Romanenko, and a lot of other people can come and create the DAO to buy this property. I don't need it. I don't want to buy it. I don't have enough money, and I don't have enough wish to own it. Yes, I am buying tokens. The management company begins to manage this real estate and get the income from the rent. I am getting my funds when the time is coming in crypto. And if I am tired of this process, I just take my token and sell it on the platform. So in this tokenization is the process where two participants, which are opposite, makers and takers, meet each other. One who is maker, let's say, and he wants to sell, he wants to get investments, he is ready to tokenize something he has. Tokenization is a dividing of the ownership to the parts, yes? This is the first situation. The second situation, the simplest way to get rid of it. I am buying tokens and selling it when I want. And of course, a very low entry limit, yes, entry barrier. I don't need a lot of money. And of course, in the beginning, I was telling you, and no paperwork. It's very simple. The process, how we conducted this in DAO, using Wyoming, let's say, this is quite easy. In Wyoming, I think my colleagues will tell about it more concretely. In reality, the DAO law, sorry, it's not a bill, it's a law now. It gives opportunity to create the company which is managed by real smart contract. You create smart contract on Polygon blockchain. You put in your registered documents its address, and every person who owns the token issued by this smart contract created by it is the owner of this company. It's very cool, you know? It really gives opportunity to invest in everything, in luxury cars, in everything what is very expensive and you don't understand how to buy. And of course, anti-money laundering regulation and compliance. Not each investor can invest in something big. In this situation, he can. So this is a process of fundraising and investing, nothing else.
Well, I get you. So we may conclude that if the market need exists from the crypto holders to buy real world assets, and which the need for sell real world assets exists from the side of the owners of assets, why can we create a sort of breach?
Yeah.
Let it be sophisticated breach, legal sophisticated breach, comparing legal jurisdictions of, thank you, Wyoming, the first ever state in the U.S. Is this only one state from the 50 states of the U.S. who have implemented this DAO legal framework, or there are any competitors from another states? Yes, maybe you know.
Wyoming, of course, is I don't know. It is like the pioneer in everything. Also, we have Delaware, which is also possible to use to be used in this framework. And I understand that my colleagues who are going after me will tell a lot about different legal frameworks, because today we have a lot of opportunities to use a lot of models. What I told, it is the part of the big legal framework of existing DAOs today.
Well, sounds great. I'm guessing that Rostislav, our distinguished participant, is writing question. Rostislav, please hurry up. If okay, he has just dropped it. Let me read a question for Ghana. Given your statement in respect of real property tokenization, which is accounted in SPV, Special Purpose Files, Marshall Islands, balance sheet, do the DAO members hold legal title or equity title in the interests in right over, in parentheses, the thing, in parentheses, real property? So, Ghana, please read the question in the chat.
I understood the question of our friend. In this situation, the person is holding the ownership not in the real estate, not in the asset in which we invest. We are holding the part of ownership in the company. In Marshall Island, we have the latest and very very constructive, you know, with answering to all questions legislation, which gives opportunity to become the member. Yes, it is the right on equity. This is an equity token. I own the part of the company, and this company invests in something. In our situation, in real estate.
Well, okay, let's consider a sort of legal and Web3 sandwich. I imagine a hamburger at McDonald's, where the upper side is a framework from the legal framework from the country, and the upper downside is a sort of Web3. Okay, this is just my imagining. Thank you very much, Joanna, for joining us today and telling such detailed and experienced talk. I think we will be following your success, and greetings from, first of all, the team and from Venezuela at least. Well, so we are switching to the next speaker. He is Sergey Ostrovskiy. Let me give him credentials. He is Web3 and tech lawyer. He's co-founder and partner of Aurum Law Firm. He's co-founder of DAObox. He's serial investor and entrepreneur. He acts as an independent director on the boards of crypto companies, and he advises governments on the implementation of VASP, Virtual Assets Service Providers, if I'm not mistaken, regulation. So, Sergey, if you are with us, you are aiming to give us a speech about entitled DAOs in 2024, Legal Frameworks and Wrapper. If I'm not mistaken, just join us and deliver your speech and give us some time for the end. So join us, please, with your mic and video if you want to turn on the camera, or just by voice.
So I'll start with a couple of words about myself. So I'm a lawyer. I've been working with crypto, with Web3 blockchain since 2017, like early 2017. And as lawyers, we've done pretty much like all kind of stuff that lawyers do in crypto. We've also launched our portfolio project DAObox like a while ago, that specializes in services for DAOs, Web3 collectives, and Web3 organizations, mostly related to DAO wrapping and DAO wrapper administration. So yeah, let's go ahead. Oh, it works. So I thought that we should start with some like basics. So what is a DAO legal wrapper? And also, yeah, if you have any questions, just post them in chat. So what is a legal wrapper in the first place? It's a legal entity that a DAO can use to operate within existing legal systems. So as any DAO, like any DAO is a collective of people who like join their efforts to achieve some sort of goal, for example. So, and by itself, this organization can already come into existence. And from legal standpoint, it can already be like qualified or classified, like sort of, yeah. So, and we need a legal wrapper so that the law doesn't qualify our organization as it sees it, and so that we can elect how to have our organization like legally determined, structured, and operated. So the main purposes for which a DAO would normally need a legal wrapper is limited liability for its members, because it's one of the like major concerns that the DAO and their members are facing, is that unlimited personal liability of DAO members. So essentially, there were cases in US when even by holding a single token, a person could be liable for the whole debts of the whole organization. And the token, it wasn't even necessary for that person to buy that token in the first place. So somebody could just drop it to the wallet, and that would be enough, which is crazy. So yeah, limited liability is like #1 concern. #2 concern is taxation. So we need to optimize taxes, because if we don't have a legal structure in place, if we have a partnership, if we have like individuals engaging in DAO-related stuff in their own name, on their own behalf, they're risking their own property and they're risking their own taxes and tax liability. That's why people tend to use wrappers to also organize in terms of taxation. And #3 is separate legal personality. So it is something that people want to use the DAOs for, is to own property, own IP, enter into contracts, engage people, issue grants, own like fiat payment accounts, and so on and so forth. And to do so, you need a separate legal personality. So you need an entity that can acquire liabilities and can acquire rights and exercise those rights. So those are like 3 major considerations that cause organizations to set up legal structures. And key considerations when you're doing so is #1, centralization. You don't want your organization to be more centralized because of that legal wrapper. #2 is checks and balances. So you want like a good governance system to be set up within that wrapper to avoid manipulations or to avoid the management like taking over that wrapper and its assets, which is also a risk when a DAO assigns some property to the wrapper and its management just like takes over that property and just acts in bad faith. And #3 is DAO assets, which I've just covered already. So yeah. Then what are the major DAO types? If we're talking about legal structure, the DAO can be unstructured or entity-less. It's any like DAO or Web3 organization that has no legal structure. So when you like organize yourselves, when, for example, a community is created around a project, it could already be viewed as an unstructured DAO, as a DAO that has no legal structure in place. Then we have partially wrapped DAOs. Those are the DAOs in which not the whole DAO is being wrapped, but only some siloed functions or siloed, how to say it, like functions. Yeah, for example, a DAO wants to issue grants, and to do so, it needs to enter into contracts, conduct KYC and due diligence on the grantees, and engage in other like kind of transactions for which you would need a legal entity. So the DAO would wrap only the grant-related like activities, and not the whole DAO. And then, for example, they could use a trust, or they could use an entity set up somewhere where it's like feasible to manage that grant program. And the whole DAO, the bigger organization, it will stay unwrapped. So that's partially wrapped DAO. And a wrapped DAO is a DAO where normally members of the DAO become members of the entity, members of the legal wrapper itself. So the wrapper effectively absorbs the DAO, I would say. So those are three major types depending on the legal structure. Then we have distributions. So the legal wrapper, it can be for-profit or non-profit. For-profit are those wrappers that can. So the key difference between these two is whether the wrapper can distribute assets or property among its members. So if the DAO is non-profit, it cannot make distributions to its members. And if it's for-profit, then you have to pay taxes, but you can do those distributions. So that's the difference. And these two like different kinds of entities, they suit different DAOs depending on their purposes and on what they intend to do with that wrapper. And then we have management, and I also have like two categories here. It's member managed and algorithmically managed. I actually stole it from Marshall Islands DAO LLC Act, but it works. This classification works, so I've added it here. So we can have member managed DAO is a DAO where members exercise governance through voting, normally through voting. So they have like a governance token, they have snapshot, they can vote on snapshot, and then that resolution becomes effective, and so on and so forth. And algorithmically managed is a DAO that operates through smart contracts without voting. Yeah, so those are the two types. So there are like several forms of legal entities that can be used to wrap a DAO from my standpoint, from my perspective, because I think that in order for an entity to like be suitable to be used as a wrapper, it has to meet like certain criteria. And so not like a normal corporation that has shareholders. In my opinion, it cannot be a DAO wrapper because it has shareholders, and like management of that corporation or of that company will have fiduciary duties to the shareholders. So shareholders effectively control the whole wrapper, and it has like nothing to do with the DAO. This is my opinion. So yeah, we have like several kinds of organizations or like entities that can be used to wrap a DAO, and I'm talking like in this presentation, in this speech, I'm talking more about large DAOs rather than small DAOs like Invest DAOs that can have like 10, 15 people or members. I'm talking about large DAOs like protocol DAOs, like ecosystem DAOs, and so on. So yeah, we have foundation, association, trust as standard forms of legal wrappers to wrap the DAO partially. This is when the wrapper does not absorb the DAO itself, but just wraps some specific siloed operations within that DAO. For example, grant, for example, to engage contractors, to own IP, to manage infrastructure, manage IP, and so on and so forth. I also added companies limited by guarantee. Why? Because they can have no shareholders, as I mentioned. So since they are like companies limited by guarantee, they can be structured as an entity without shareholders, and which would be then suitable to serve as a DAO legal wrapper, but I haven't had a chance to do that, so it's just like in theory. The foundation, association, and trusts are partial wrappers, and full wrappers are DAO LLC and DLT Foundation. So DLT Foundation is a type of legal entity specific to United Arab Emirates, and this is like a kind of foundation that is specific particularly to DAOs, distributed organizations, but it's quite expensive, it's quite time and resource consuming, so I wouldn't recommend using it unless you have to or you need to. For example, your target market is there, or like your assets are there, whatever. And DAO LLC is another form of full wrapper that can wrap the whole organization, because in a DAO LLC, whether it would be Wyoming or it would be Marshall Islands or it would be another jurisdiction, the members of the DAO, they normally become the members of the LLC itself. And you don't have to undergo like formalities, like to sign some paperwork to be admitted as a member, or to undergo KYC or screenings or due diligences to provide your documents, whatever. It's enough for you to hold the membership tokens to be recognized and admitted as a member and have your membership rights enforced. So it's pretty cool form of a DAO wrapper that absorbs the whole DAO. Yeah. Okay. Here I've added some legal wrapper considerations. So when we're designing a legal wrapper, whether it would be Aurum or DAObox, DAObox works more with legal wrappers. So yeah, it's mostly about DAObox, where we're looking to establish a legal structure that, as I mentioned, has no shareholders or equity owners. This is important because in this case, the organization can serve a purpose or can be subordinated to the DAO and not to the members. Because if, for example, in a corporation, a member is required or a shareholder is required, that shareholder, that specific person, will have ultimate control over the whole wrapper and over all assets of that wrapper. And it can replace or change directors, it can adopt any resolutions it wants and dispose of the assets as it sees without even discussing it with the DAO. That's why the entity, the legal wrapper, in my opinion, must have no shareholders or equity owners. It must easily integrate into DAO ecosystem. So they have to be like, there has to be some sort of compatibility. And then it can be effectively subordinated to the DAO. So ideally, you want your legal wrapper to be ultimately subordinated to the DAO. So it has to recognize the DAO's will and adhere to their resolutions. Then the wrapper should not be adversely affected by VASP, securities, or tax law implications. So if you're, for example, if you're incorporating a wrapper in Cayman Islands where they have their own VASP legislation, you want to make sure that intended activities of your wrapper, they will not trigger its application unless you want to be registered. So yeah. And for me, the wrapper, it should have no connections with and no nexus in the US in order to avoid application of US legislation and jurisdiction of US regulators. So yeah. Then here we have system of checks and balances, which is also important for a proper design of the legal wrapper, because you always want to have a system of checks and balances to control your management, to control the management of the legal wrapper. Otherwise, it can just usurp the power and just act in their own interests, not in the interests of the community, of the members, of the, like, not for the purposes that were established, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we want to establish a system where the wrapper recognizes the will of the DAO. The management is appointed either with participation of the DAO or upon its consent, where management owes fiduciary duties not to the shareholders, but to the purposes of the foundation or to the DAO, which also allows to subordinate the management in a proper manner. Then ideally, we want to have a list of reserved matters. Those are the questions or the matters, the transactions in which the wrapper cannot engage unless the DAO has agreed that the wrapper can engage. So for example, if there's like a material contract, the wrapper should not enter into that contract unless the DAO has agreed, has consented to this transaction, which is also important. For example, you want to limit the ability of your management, of the management of the wrapper, to dispose of material property, to transfer IP rights, to transfer domain names. You don't want your management to be able to do so without getting approval from the DAO, from the organization. So yeah, those are reserved matters. Then you can add excluded activities. Those are activities in which the wrapper cannot engage. Then rules for disposing assets and emergency procedures. For example, if management misbehaves, if you have like regulatory compliance issues, something like that, you want to have emergency measures that will be applied in that case to find a fast and efficient solution to the situation that could arise. And other thoughts here, I've gathered like some thoughts from the top of my head that I had about the DAOs. So first is that there can be a separation between the DAO that exists on-chain and the legal wrappers. So the wrapper not essentially absorbs the DAO, as I mentioned before. The DAO can have multiple wrappers. That's the first point. Each of that wrappers can be responsible for separate directions or for separate activities within the ecosystem and own separate property, so on and so forth. So yeah, it's just important to understand. Same wrapper forms in different jurisdictions will differ. So for example, Cayman Foundation and Swiss Foundation will be super different in terms of flexibility, taxation, supervisory roles. For example, in Switzerland, you cannot appoint your own supervisor in the foundation. It will be a state authority. And in Cayman Islands, you can. And that's a big difference. Also, VASP legislation. So yeah, you could have like several foundation options, but they all will be different. Then people in the know, such as VCs, large auditors, and large actors, they tend to avoid working with unstructured DAOs. This is something that we've been seeing like more frequently lately, is that even large DAOs are having like troubles in engaging people in the know if they don't have legal structure in place, because those people who know they don't want to work with unstructured DAOs as their compliance teams, they prohibit this, their policies prohibit this, they are avoiding legal, financial risks, and so on, of becoming members of the DAO. Yeah. And regardless of whether you're a DAO, a large DAO, or a small DAO, UBO reporting obligations apply. So if you have like 20 plus controllers within your DAO, you will likely have to report them or to fractionalize their ownership. I think that's all. That's everything I wanted to talk about. So now if there are any questions.
Well, thanks for the great diving into this, another form of specific conjunction of Web3 and traditional, I would say, legal frameworks. So dear attendees, please don't hesitate to ask questions to Sergey about how to wrap your possible DAO into this legal framework. It puts it into the specific, concrete legal framework of any country. By the way, Sergey, what are your thoughts on what are jurisdictions? Because our next speaker is from Luxembourg. And what countries are the most suitable for putting DAOs into their legal framework? What countries in the world do you find the most suitable at all?
Yeah, that will depend. That will depend heavily on all the configurations you want to have. So if you want to engage, for example, if you want to operate a protocol, it will have effect on the choice. If you want to make distributions, it will have effect. If you want to have your DAO members admitted as members, it will have effect. If you want to do, I don't know, it depends on the protocol, it depends on the token status and design, it all depends. But normally the list would include countries like onshore and offshore. So onshore Switzerland, Singapore, the kind of jurisdictions, and offshore would be BVI, Cayman Islands, Panama, Cook Islands, Marshall Islands, US states. So there are, I think there are 4 states in the US, Wyoming, Vermont, Utah, and Tennessee, I think, that allow for establishment of DAO LLCs. So that's another jurisdiction you want to consider when structuring DAO. But you want to think twice whether you want to establish presence or nexus in the US, because regulatory climate is very, very complex there.
Okay. We've got a question from Rostislav. Rostislav, thank you for supporting with excellent question. Your chance to be the brilliant. I'm insisting that we need to give a sort of beige for Rostislav for the best question ever asked in our meetup. So he asks, Sergey, do the DAO, which is incorporated in the state of Wyoming, has a locus standi as a sort of a legal term in Latin. I don't know what does it mean, but I hope you do.
Yeah, it's about whether the company can like appear in state authorities or in court and have like be represented. Yeah.
He clarifies capacity institution. So read his clarification.
So yes, of course, it has because it is a full-fledged legal entity. So it has legal personality, and it can have like acquire rights, acquire obligations, and it can initiate lawsuits and so on and so forth.
Well, Sergey, I like to ask provocative questions. Sorry for my plain crypto-anarchist lexicon, but for me personally, an entity named DAO wrapper looks at first sight as an endeavor to create a sort of oxymoron, because these both entities are tools for different words with completely different law system on the philosophical level. And from my side, they can't be conjuncted. It's like trying to connect inconnectable. Could you please explain why I am possibly wrong in this issue?
Yeah, the thing is that those two worlds, they can coexist if you want to. So you can you can keep all your stuff on chain if you want to take that risk, and if you don't need to engage in real world operations. But as soon as you need to engage in contracts, as soon as you want to protect your like goodwill, protect your IP, protect your domain name, or like open fiat payment accounts, when you want to engage your contractors or enforce your rights, you will have to face the real world. And when you're facing this real world, you have to play its rules. And so as it would happen with any organization, let's say we have like gathered together like 5-10 people and decided to do something, like to do business, venue, or like some sort of activities. For a DAO, it would look just the same. So people gather on internet just in much bigger scale, but they gather, they decide to do something together, and they can do it as this. You can do it. You will be just treated as a simple partnership, like unstructured partnership that has its legal implications. And if you want to change that qualification, if you want to change that status, if you want to choose your status, you can just form a legal wrapper and say, okay, I don't want that qualification. I want to be this or that. So that's the reason.
Okay, and finally, in the 2 minutes left, could you please clarify again the question about management? At first, the concept of DAO implies having no management because smart contracts have replaced them. And the concept of any legal entity in any legal framework implies having a management, having a CEO. How this possible contradiction from the first sight can be resolved?
Yeah, but how does democracy work then? Democracy is, it looks like a democracy to me because you have like a lot of people who can vote, each having normally one vote.
Yes.
And they can elect representatives who would be then representing their interests. It's something that happens like pretty oftenly when people appoint delegates. DAOs appoint delegates to be to hold multi-signature wallets and like do some kind of stuff. Yeah. In a similar manner, they can appoint representatives to act as managers of their wrappers, just to, translate the DAO decisions into facts through their, authority or through their, managerial efforts.
Well, I would suggest to call this concept partial management in DAO. Let it be so. DAO if you're afraid an absence of management, we have got a partial managed DAO just for you, our happy clients. Okay, I am joking, but nonetheless, these are the amazing topics for conversation. Thank you for joining us today, Sergey. And we are switching to our third speaker. We are continuing to explore DAO wrapping because we are having Lars Ghillemyn I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly, so correct me if I'm wrong. So he is Luxembourg qualified lawyer, registered at the Luxembourg Bar and specialized in sophisticated capital raising, regulatory and debt transactions. He's a partner at Woud, an independent law firm bringing forward Web3 and Industry5. Harry was a former management associate at Linklaters, Luxembourg and London, and counsel at Goodwin. Harry is the co-founder of Alpha Persei, a space collaboration platform aiming at vertical integration, consolidation, and democratization of space missions. Filedgr, a TLT big data company building the DAO of transparency, and the Luxembourg House of Web3. Current mandates of Harry includes Aurel&Axel, the first urban farm in Luxembourg, the Vlaamse club, and co-head of legal of blockchain for Belgium, an initiative of the Belgian Secretary of State of digitalisation. Well, Harry, if you are with us, and you are, I know, please turn your mic in, turn your video in, turn your presentation in.
Thank you, by the way, for the introduction, and for Ghana and Sergey for their contributions. I found it very interesting, and it seems like we are aligned on a lot of things that have been discussed today, because usually when you participate in conferences around Web3 or DAOs, it's all about decentralization, no regulation, getting away from the law, and so on. And so it's quite refreshing to see that participants today have a more, in my view, realistic view of the matter. I changed the presentation a little bit because I'm the last one, and a lot of things have already been touched upon by Ghana and Sergey, so I will not fall into repetition. So I decided to just tell a story about space ventures and how it works together with Web3 and DAO, and I'll explain you step by step a Luxembourg investment DAO. Yeah. And I saw that there are a lot of Slavic names actually participating to today's session, which is very nice because it's about space, and 50 or 60 years ago, yeah, the USSR was really like top notch in space, and the pendulum is kind of swinging back now. So in 2021, the cryptocurrencies were very high, and I was thinking, look, why are so many people putting so much money into the metaverse, a complete virtual world? Whereas during our lifetimes, we are going to the universe, a world that does exist, you know. It's really slowly we becoming this interplanetary species as we speak. Similar, like, you know, when the fish crawled out of the oceans of millions of years ago. So this is a little bit the era that we are living in, and I think that sometimes we underestimate it. So this is a big voyage that we are doing during our lifetimes, but we know that from the past. Like if you look 450 years ago, several European nations went into very big discoveries, the age of discovery. Yeah? You had also the Chinese, but you had above all the Portuguese, the Spanish, the English, and so on, taking their ships and venturing into the unknown. But why is it that a very small country, the United Dutch Provinces, which were military and demographically completely insignificant compared to their other European competitors, they were so good at it? It was because in Dutch society at the time, they found the first financing model and collaboration model that accumulated sufficient capital within a structure and allowed the boats to be built bigger, faster, and of course, you know, venture further away, and the profits to be redistributed within society. It's because thanks of the Amsterdamse Beurs, which was founded in 1602. So this new system of, you know, the Beurs and a new capitalist system gave actually rise to capitalism as we know it today. And that gave actually rise to the biggest company the world has ever known, which is the East India company, of which you see here a boat ferrying around Cape de Goede Hoop in South Africa. This company was, by the way, the biggest company for the next 200 years. So capitalism comes from that, and of course, you know, the traditional phases of raising capital in function of your revenue and time. So first you would start with friends, founders and fools. Then you go to angels and grants, venture capital, private equity as you go along. The first period, the value of debt is the most difficult one, because this is where you completely depend on external capital before making any revenues. And this ties back to what Ghana actually was studying about crowdfunding service providers or crowdfunding service provider type of licenses. These are generally actually capital raising laws or structures that focus, you know, on this gap on the value of debt. Then Ghana was also talking about like bigger financings in the US and so on. Then you're looking more at, let's say, more mature venture capital, private equity, or even IPOs. If you look specifically at the space sector, so apart from, of course, a very talented engineers and a dedicated program like the USSR had 60 years ago, or then the US, and now India is also upcoming, and China and so on. Traditional ways of raising finance or finance models are not apt for the space sector. And this is because the space sector is some dreamy sector for the moment, right? You, apart from Earth observation or satellite communication or dual use and military use, there are no clear business cases. So if you compare these ways of raising capital against a certain number of criteria that are generally used to back financings, we see that it is not enough. With a grant alone, you can't really launch your rocket to space, so the amount of money is too low. Debt investments in the space sector are very, very, very rare. Like in 2021, so before the venture capital crisis, there was only one major debt financing in the space sector. Why? Because there are no revenues that would allow you to meet your interest payment dates. Venture capital and private equity are very often used in the space sector, but here we have a autonomy type of issue. If you look, for instance, at Europe, the capital markets are not deep enough. And so very often promising European companies accept American capital to be funded, but they end up being owned by Americans. And so you lose your strategic, geopolitical, but also commercial independence of that. And so in strategic sectors, for instance, in the space sector, that can be a problem. The stock market, a lot of space companies are not mature enough to list on the stock market. So this is a bit the problem that we are facing in the space sector. It's very capital intensive. There's an absence of proven market or geopolitical considerations. In order to be able to make profits, you're sometimes faced with very long timelines. Look at Elon Musk and his space companies. In Europe, in particular, is very ground-based, and there is a weakness in technological and political sovereignty. And maybe I want to add something. It's also the space builders, and that's not only the link to space, but just any type of company. From the moment you accept capital from investors other than a community, you completely depend on your investors, and they kind of take over a big part of the governance of your company. In the 60s, we signed actually the Outer Space Treaty. And the very first article said that the exploration and use of outer space shall actually be the province of all mankind. And this can be understood because at that time, the US and the USSR were like more or less, you know, on equal footing in space. And I think none wanted, you know, the other two to be bigger and said, okay, guys, you know, this will be for all humankind. Now you see that with the Artemis Accords, there's an active politic from the US to change actually a certain number of things at the historical treaties, where they explicitly say that independent nations can appropriate space assets. so material, minerals, and actually do mining activities and so on. So there is a tension now with the new framework that is being endorsed geopolitically and the historical one. So this is the space trilemma that we try to solve. Strategic autonomy. We want to give the general public access to space because, you know, going to space, this is something that belongs to all of us, and also give space companies sufficient funding. We are living in an interesting time, not only because we have this evolution of becoming an interplanetary species, but at the same time, you have two other developments that happen. One's are longevity, so really breakthroughs in the medical sector. And the other one is the one that we are discussing today. So with blockchain technology, DLT, Web3, where new financing and collaborations models are possible. So it is with blockchain that we can actually democratize space assets. And now I'll touch on some things that Ghana was explaining in an investment DAO, so real world asset tokenization in the forms of a derivative, so financial instrument that is linked to the assets, but also a collaboration model. And actually, to be quite frank, I had this crazy idea and I wrote a paper on it in 2022 in the beginning of the year. And that paper was selected by the International Astronautical Congress to be presented. Yeah. And I didn't expect it. And that was in the presentation you're looking at now is more or less a variation on the presentation that was given at that point in Paris. So like, was very nice because there were 8,000 people in the room and was on a big auditorium, and everybody was really enthusiastic about the idea. So I'll not explain what blockchain technology is because you know that, of course. I'll go relatively quickly over the advantages and disadvantages as well. Focus maybe on the disadvantages that blockchain technology historically had regulatory challenges, reputation as well, and investors were not always protected. I think that Ghana said that some project owners want to create some type of a loosey utility token and then raise money and then disappear. I completely agree. If you want to structure it well, you structure it as a traditional security token because maybe with utility token aspects linked to it, but especially if you look at investment DAOs, it should be just a security token where your investors and your community know what to expect. And by the way, you as well to do proper financing. So nor Sergey nor Ghana thought about Luxembourg for the DAOs. This is my job to do, to see that there's a number of people from the Luxembourg House of Web3 also delved in. Luxembourg is a jurisdiction that is a little bit under the radar for DAOs or for Web3. I don't understand very good because if you look at Luxembourg, we are a onshore jurisdiction, so in the European Union, the second biggest fund center in the world after the US, biggest bond listing venue in the world, first sustainable finance center, but also things that are maybe a little bit less well known. We are also the fourth Islamic finance center in the world. With all the tools to issue Sharia compliant instruments. All the Chinese banks are here. So it's really like a platform that is onshore with the pedigree and all the investor protection and all the severe, KYC laws of the European Union that apply here as well, but where the entire world comes together. And of course, super stable for many, many years with a very stable government that has a specific program for financial technology and Web3. So how does an investment DAO in Luxembourg work? Apologies, I'm going to just make the image a little bit bigger. The investment DAOs in Luxembourg function in a way that you would generally set up a securitization fund, which is the blue box here. A securitization fund in Luxembourg can be organized as a vehicle. So the blue box, the fund itself has no legal personality. So it's completely tax transparent, which is one of the things that a lot of DAOs like. So any taxes, if there taxes are levied immediately upon the participants. Such a fund can also be structured in a way that it has several compartments, which are sub-assets in the fund that are completely segregated from one another and from the fund as such. So they actually function as really independent bodies of assets within the same corporate body, if you can say it like that, which of course is a very handy tool for Web3 features. Each compartment is fully bankruptcy remote by law. So if one compartment or one project goes wrong, it is actually liquidated separately without any recourse against the other compartments or the management company and so on. Securitization is a transaction where the fund acquires risk and transfers the risk to an investor. The fund is generally managed by a management company that is a private limited liability company. So the way that it would function is the management company would have a minimum amount of equity, 0.00001, not to have any economics, but to ensure that the protocol or the smart contract or whatever constitutional document that is sometimes a very summary is respected at the level of the fund or at the level of the DAO, if you can call it like that. This is just to ensure that, yes, your taxes are filed. If there is a complaint in front of court, that you can be represented and so on. It's more like some type of service provider rather than a real management company, because the management is done on the basis of proposals that are submitted to the fund. If you, for instance, a space company, the fund would grant a profit participating loan to the space company. Profit participating, so you can directly participate in profits and not and so if there are no profits, you don't pay interest, which is an additional layer of protection against insolvency. The profit participating loan granted by the compartment is financed by issuing a bond or another debt instrument that is subscribed by the members. Of course, the bond that is subscribed by the members is tokenized, so the community, if they buy a token, they actually buy a financial instrument or a security with an interest rate that you can compare to stacking that is linked to the performance of the underlying space company. So you wouldn't have this type of stacking setups where the only revenues depend on actually a continuous increase of the members. It actually depends on the economic performance of those companies. Where am I now? Yeah, I explained this as well. Yeah, so the management company does not undertake active management. The investment is not guaranteed, but could be guaranteed. You could imagine that the token is guaranteed by a share pledge over the space company or receivables pledge over the intercompany loans and so on. Then the Web3 or the DAO aspects that come with it is that those different type of instruments, you can tokenize them. So first you would have a membership fee that comes in with, and I see that actually the slide has been deleted by accident, would be represented by an NFT. And this NFT would be a traditional governance NFT that allows the members to vote on a certain number of proposals made by the DAO. For instance, you can engage with the community space company, can say, look, we want to go to Mars and we found water. Do we need to mine the water or do we leave it as is? You know, these are the type of questions that companies now they take in boardrooms or other community, but that here they can propose to the NFT holders. The NFT holders will then also have access to information and gamification features within the DAO. There are two different types of tokens. The one is the DAO token, which is this one, which is the traditional investment token, and under which the rewards are also paid at the yield. And this can be converted into one or more campaign tokens, because you see you have different space companies. The community can say, oh, look, I like the Lunar Outpost more, or iSpace, or Elon Musk company, and decide to invest in 2 companies or 3 companies. So you create here with 2 different type of tokens, while it's actually a DeFi system. Yeah. So this space trilemma was having access to investments, whereas there's also a blockchain trilemma, of course. It are just regulatory challenges that we have. Until, let's say, 18 months ago, there were a lot of discussions with utility tokens, which rules should apply, and so on and so on. In Europe, this is now, of course, cleared out. As from next year, there's an entire framework that applies to it with MiCAR that puts actually utility tokens on very similar standards as security tokens. Investor protection, you know, you buy the tokens, but really tracking the underlying. Everybody talks about real estate because it's probably the most easiest to see. You can see the building exists. It's probably worth between that and that amount because it's been assessed like that by a specialist, and based on that, then a security token is issued. But if you talk about commodities, for instance, the diamonds, so I'm Belgian and myself, so I know Antwerp and the diamond industry quite well. It becomes much more tricky, right, to verify the custody of the diamonds, the quality of the diamonds. It depends also, you know, with which body you're working with, whether, you know, Jewish people or Indian people, you know, the setting standards and verification standards are not always the same. And then with the token, it becomes like more difficult as well. This, of course, we solved it very simply by just applying the European rules, which I think for the moment are really the best, because they don't make a distinction between the technology used. Europe recognizes that a token, whether it's now a security or something that people attribute value to, so a utility, both boil down to the same thing. It means someone wants to pay for it, right? So if you look at retail investors, the retail investors should be protected and similar standards. And it does not necessarily take away the innovation. It just means that you know, common sense just applies to utility tokens as they do to security tokens. By the way, something that I forgot to say here for this structure, this is not an alternative investment fund under European rules, so you wouldn't have to conform to your alternative investment fund directive, because this is pure debt securitization, right? There's no equity investments that go to the space companies. That's one thing. A second thing is those compartments. You can do 3 compartments a year, each year, to retail investors without the need of being licensed and being directly supervised by the Luxembourg regulator. Whereas you can do an unlimited amount of compartments to professional investors. So you can have 25 professional compartments and then 3 retail compartments without actually needing a license. And even if you want to have more retail strategies within the structure, you would generally want to structure it as a node program where you issue, say, okay, we want to develop a space village, buy into the program, structure in that in one compartment, and then you would phase out the space village in, for instance, the infrastructure, the electricity, grid on space, and so on and so on. I'm not talking about space, but it could be for anything else. So how does that now compare with what we were saying earlier? In traditional ways of raising capital for space ventures, there's no dilution of the space companies, because the investment made by the compartment in the space company is, remember, it's a debt investment, so the equity is not diluted. There is only a repayment obligation in case there are profits, because it is a conditional profit participating loan. So this is where you engage the community and you say, look, we need your money, but we will let you vote on a certain number of things in accordance with the smart contract. And if we make money, we will all make good money, because the interest rate tracks the profits. However, if you don't make any money, nobody, will benefit from it, which is a slight difference with the traditional banks. The IP is protected. It's very important because since it is a debt instrument, the lenders or the community generally, they don't sit in the board of the space company. They are not represented there. They don't have access to trade secrets and so on. So the IP stays protected at the level of the space company, which is both important for the space company as such, but also from a geopolitical and strategic perspective, where you don't, have like foreign investors just agreeing. Expert added value, this is very important for me. Imagine the possibilities. As a space company, you raise capital from an entire community and you can just launch like, look, we need engineers to work on that. We give so many credits that are, of course, convertible into fiat money. And you can tap into an entire community rather than being stuck by, the people that you engaged. The other one I touched upon just now, engagement of the community, that speaks for itself. Long-term capital, very important. Remember what I was telling about the age of discovery and the boats in the Netherlands? Those were ventures of multiple years. The boats went away and 3-4 years later, they came back. On average, for every 10 boats that left, only 2 returned, but it was okay because it returned with so much profits. There was so much opportunities that people were willing to invest in it in a very long term, because let's not forget, 4 years in the Middle Ages was much longer than now. And now everybody wants a quick win. But actually, if you can engage a community over the longer term, generally communities are willing to engage for a very long, on a very long horizon, much longer than, for instance, venture capitalists that have a investment cycle of 4 years, 5 years, and private equity, let's say 6 to 8 years. And the amount of money that can be raised, there's no upper limit to that. Voilà, this is a little bit my presentation to make it more concrete. It's a combination between something philosophical, both in the space sector and in the Web3 sector, DAOs, and there are actually quite a few big space DAOs that are being built, investment DAOs through Luxembourg for the moment. We tokenize 42 billion euros of mining commodities in Latin America through Luxembourg. Why? Because people don't trust to put their money in Latin America or in Latin American structure, but they do if it is through Luxembourg, right? And it's also a tokenization. We have a multi-compartment tokenization platform that focuses on sustainable investments. Maybe you know, but one of the world leaders in tokenization issuance platform, Stocker, is based in Luxembourg. Voilà. We deal a lot with this real world assets tokenization setups, and I'm very, very glad actually to be here today with you and also to get to know Eugène again and Sergey. I think we will have a very interesting conversations going forward.
Well, thank you very much for delivering such a brilliant speech. We've got your presentation as well. So may I ask you some questions going beyond? First of all, why space entrepreneurship? I would say entrepreneurship in space is such an exotic field. What chosen for such an amazing combination?
So why the space was chosen?
Yes, space as a sphere of implementing entrepreneurial forces and atoms in there. So it's quite exotic sphere for conducting entrepreneurship in business, I would say.
For me, it was something, but for me that I started to think about it, and it has different reasons. People that build material to go to space, they are very, very smart. Let's think about it. These engineers, they go to space, it's not like, hello, very smart. And at the same time, they are so hopelessly conservative when it comes to finance. They have no imagination whatsoever, because they do like this: space agency or government, please give me money, right? So there's like a complete disconnect between their technical capacities and the financial engineering in the space industry. This is one. Secondly, I was thinking, but why is it that only governments and billionaires go to space? This belongs to all of us. There's a second aspect, and the third aspect was if you compare it like with sustainable bonds, to bring space, you know, to people with the tokens, and, you know, the whole community that goes it. Actually, look, people spend millions to send a Shiba to the moon. It's ridiculous, right? Whereas we are going to the moon. We are going, you know, to Mars for our humankind, you know, things. So I thought to just redirect that money.
Well, I'm wondering, have you been personally familiar with Elon Musk? How often you are being asked such a question about space?
No, so this was a Space Congress, Astronautical Congress in 2022 was organized in Paris. He was not there. And when it was organized last year, it was in Baku in Azerbaijan. He wanted to, he needed to, but then he canceled. And so everybody was disappointed. So I didn't got the chance to meet him yet. I'm not friends with him. Otherwise, I would ask him for a big investments in the House of Web3 from Luxembourg.
Well, could you please clarify, tell some words about what is the Luxembourg House of Web3? What's the DAObox?
We are a not-for-profit organization. So Sergey was explaining with the legal wrappers that could be for-profit or not-for-profit. So we are a typical not-for-profit Web3 organization in Luxembourg, the leading one, by the way, established last year, have the biggest following, and it's a very nice mix of people that comes together, from people that run clothing shops or that take care of children or education, psychologists, people in the financial sector, and yeah, we actually make now our transition to really be organized in a decentralized way, which is not easy because centralization reflects, and, you know, power concentration reflexes are very strong urges in the people, and sometimes also with good intentions. And so we are experimenting a lot in our house, and everybody, by the way, is welcome. Huh? It's a global community. We say Luxembourg, but
okay, yeah. You know, during my stay in Web3 for 7 years, I have acquired a sort of observation from first sight, and from the second side, sort of preconception that small countries such as Luxembourg, Liechtenstein, Singapore, Hong Kong, and so on and so forth are quite friendly to crypto industry. They invite people, very few people from the world, from a legal point of view as well. And the big countries such as China or US or in Russia are much more hostile for crypto, just because of resources they might have. So what are your opinion on that? Is that pattern, does that pattern work, or it is changing? So what are your feedback on this, my biased maybe opinion?
This is going to be published on YouTube, right, for the world to see. Yeah, so,
right, yes.
Yes. It's a difficult question. I think it's a lot about control and controlling populations, your own populations, or a more global control. So, how to put this now? Generally, countries that are hostile to cryptocurrencies or that limit liberties in general from their people are countries that have a strategic interest in controlling their population via their monetary system, or by supporting the value of their currencies. And you see this everywhere where cryptocurrencies are limited in one way or the other. Then on the other hand, for countries that push on the other side, they also have a strategic interest in attracting capital If you look, for instance, at certain parts of Europe, it is still the case that different parts of the world that are not so friends with one another actually meet in Europe, in places like Luxembourg, in places like Monaco, and actually just do business together, you know, as if nothing had happened. And yeah, that only works, you know, if you apply a certain set of rules that applies to everybody and you build in sufficient integrity in your system.
Well, thanks for your professional answers. I think we have learned a lot about space and conjunction of space and Web3 as such, and maybe it seems like an exotic innovation, but why not? We are in the 21st century. Why shouldn't we go into the most innovative way of thinking, most innovative way of entrepreneurship? This has been Lars Ghillemyn from Luxembourg House of Web3. Thank you very much for joining us today. And dear speakers, dear attendees, let me conclude that we have successfully completed our agenda today, and I want to express my gratitude once again for our presence and for sharing your thoughts and insights, which are extremely valuable for us. So I hope that together we have made a positive impact on the world today and even in space, maybe with the help of our Lars. So I would also like to extend my thanks to MyShCh for providing the proof of event service, and I believe that this is how a real Web3 event should be conducted, with smart NFT tickets and SBT certificates. So don't forget to follow the link in the chat and put there your Arbitrum address for getting your SBT certificate with the gift inside. The gift in the form of 15% discount promo code on the store for renting proxy services for all sites, which will be valid until June 11th. And let me remind you that this recording will be edited and published on YouTube and distributed as soon as possible among at least 150 relevant people, not less. So we are expecting that. So stay tuned in this chat. We will notify you about that publishing and promotion. And finally, if you're considering organizing an online Web3 event, so consider using MyShCh for proof of event service like smart NFT tickets with gifts inside or on-chain reputation soulbound tokens for your attendees. They might consider this absolutely useful for Web3 events. Just let us know if you are ready to discuss the details about this service. So thank you all, everybody, for joining us today at this third ever meetup and Web3 Law community. Stay tuned for next meetups. We will be grateful for joining, for you joining the next periods. We hope we will be conducting these meetups very often. Thank you, everybody, for organizing and joining us today. And we are stopping this event recording. And thank you very much for joining us.